Good morning. I would like to call to order the Pasco County Commission 10 o'clock meeting on August 22nd, 2023. At this time, please silence all electronic devices and mute your phones. Please rise for the invocation and pledge of allegiance.
O merciful Creator, your hand is open wide to satisfy the needs of every living creature. Make us thankful for your loving providence, and grant that we, remembering the account that we must one day give, may be faithful stewards of your good gifts. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
District 1, Commissioner Oakley.
Here.
District 2, Commissioner Waitman.
Here.
District 3, Commissioner Starkey.
Here.
District 4, Commissioner Bradford.
Aye. Here.
District 5, Chairman Mariano.
Here. Now is the time for public comment. Citizens are given an opportunity to comment on any current or future agenda item coming before the board and on any other business under the board's purview. Today's public comment will be handled as follows. First, we will take public comment from those who are here in person. Then we will take public comment for those who are pre-registered for our WebEx link and currently on queue. We request when you address the board, comments are not directed personally at a commissioner or team member, but rather directed at the issues. This provides mutual respect between board members and the public. After stating your name and address for the clerk, a 3-minute timer will be activated. After 2 minutes, a single beep will indicate you have 1 minute left. When your time is up, 2 beeps will sound, and you should close your comments. WebEx participants will be disconnected automatically when their time is up. Madam Clerk, do we have anyone signed up for public comment?
Yes, sir. The first individual you've signed up is Dawn Shirley, and then behind her is Wendy Nash.
Hi.
Name and address for the record, please.
Dawn Shirley, 3131 Rock Valley Drive, Holiday, Florida.
All right, thank you. You can proceed.
I am requesting a variance request fee be waived to help with my fence remain at 6 foot on a corner lot off of a highway where my ADT camera picks up about 1 to 3 cars per minute passing, men walking by all hours of the night, and it protects me and my property. I own the corner lot in Beacon Square where the Uber driver Randall Cook was brutally murdered by an MS-13 gang member, and that Tampa Bay Times featured Commissioners Jack Mariano and Catherine Starkey discussing the concerns of code enforcement that have responded to calls of homeless camps and panhandlers due to drug abuse, unpredictable behavior, and carrying weapons. 1 in every 231 being a sex offender in Holiday compared to 1 in every 536 in Pasco as a whole. I installed ADT for my inside protection and a 6-foot vinyl fence for my outside protection. I looked up when I moved in to do my due diligence, and it stated on the Pasco website that unless a fence is supported by brick, block, or concrete, that it was fine. On the link that it leads to, it states, in the link that it leads to states in 1003.3C that a side or rear yard can be 6 foot. In 1003.3B, it states that a double frontage lot shall not exceed 4 foot in the front of the yard or front of the dwelling unit. It does not give a definition for that. I looked up double frontage lot, and on 8 or more definitions, it says specifically a lot abutting 2 or more streets that do not intersect, and specifically excludes corner lots. I was told in court in Pasco County that the Pasco County definition is different from anywhere that I found online. I received 3 quotes from Pasco County licensed fencing companies. None knew of this code against 6-foot fences on corner lots. There's 88 homes in my neighborhood in a 1-mile radius that has this 6-foot fence, the same as mine. I was told this code was created in 1975, which was 48 years ago, and this is not safe in 2023. The 88 fences in my neighborhood were definitely not built more than 48 years ago. Wood fences last about 20 years with proper maintenance, and vinyls are new. I've been fighting for my right to safety and privacy since October of last year. The code is not clear, the code is not safe, and the code is outdated and not aligned with the American Crime Prevention Institute, which recommends at least a 6-foot fence and states that prevention is the best defense. The mission of the Code Compliance Division states on the website to enforce county codes to promote, protect, and improve health, safety, and welfare of the citizens of Pasco County. I am asking that my variance request fee be waived and help in following through to make sure that this 6-foot fence can remain for my safety.
This
Mr.
is in my
Starkey?
district, and we've met, and I'm in support of her request. And it's another reason why I think we need a permit.
Okay.
So that so we can get these kind of things fixed, and we don't go through what this woman has been going through since she moved in.
So maybe we can bring it up in the
Mr.
committee
Chair,
reports.
to be clear, you can grant a waiver of her fees, you cannot grant a variance. That's,
A waiver of the fees, that's
so
what.
you're talking about a waiver of the
Yeah,
fees?
yeah.
Okay. She still has to apply for the variance
Okay.
to the planning commission.
And Commissioner Starkey, you make that motion.
I make the motion to approve the waiver of the fees.
Second.
Roll call vote. District 1, Commissioner Oakley. District 2, Commissioner Waitman.
Aye.
District 3, Commissioner Starkey.
Aye.
District 4, Commissioner Bradford.
Aye.
District 5, Chairman Mariano.
Aye. And Mr. Maron, if you could at some point, bring that code back to us if we need to tweak it to get it more uniform to align with the agencies out there would be great, right? Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, Wendy Nash is signed up next.
Wendy Nash, 5134 Serene Square, Newport Richey, Florida. We border the city of Newport Richey, but we're in Pasco County, live in Colony Cove Mobile Home Park. Meadows Park is being revamped, and they're setting a pickleball court within 75 feet of our homes. Noise has been a problem across the country, lawsuits, et cetera. We came to speak to the Commissioner Gary Bradford and his assistant Paula Cernigliario. I don't want to say it wrong, I'm sorry. Was very sympathetic, and although it's not in county jurisdiction, they have done some research on it and told us that some phone calls would be made to support us. And I want to, publicly thank that branch and Mr. Bradford and Paula. We are curious as to who to call when the volume noise exceeds the city ordinance. Do we call Newport Richey or do we call Pasco County? Because we live in Pasco, but it will violate their noise situation, their noise ordinance. So Debbie Mann says she's going to let us know which one to call, but I'd kind of like to make you all aware of this situation because there may come a time when we have to call Pasco County, if Newport Richey doesn't do anything. I know they're incorporated and you can't touch them because they are a city of their own means, and you guys really can't help us apparently. But I want you aware of the situation and that we're fighting to try and do things the right way. And if Pasco County ever wants to build pickleball courts in any other area of Pasco County, we have some really good connections and lots of information to explain how to do it right, not this way. Thank you.
Okay, the next individual signed up is Stephen Jonas.
Good morning, Stephen Jonas, 1257 Littlefield Drive, Newport Richey. I'm here today to ask for the board's assistance in having an order to demolish rescinded or the appeals period extended for a property located at 2406 Arcadia Road. I recently purchased a property of 2406 Arcadia Road that has an order to demolish on the property. I've spoken to the county attorney's office, the building department, in order to have this order either rescinded or my appeals period extended on this property. There is no structural defects with the house. It was used as a drug house. I did not know that. The sheriff had such an issue with it until today, which I'll go to the sheriff after here to get his help in having this order possibly rescinded. The house is currently assessed, just the building itself is $156,000. If this house is demolished, the county will lose significant tax revenue. The tax bill last year was a little over $1,000. Removal of the homestead on this property, the tax bill will go up to about $3,300 per the county's website. There's a significant tax reduction in this property. I'm willing to enter any consent order in order to make sure this house is never used as a drug house again. This house will be turned into a rental. That'll be affordable housing for residents in our community. I've lived in this community for 46 years. I'm an attorney in this community. I have a business here as well. This is not my first rental, but I'm asking today for some of the board's help. I purchased the property August 4th. I've had 18 days to work on this property. I understand a consent order was done already, but I'm looking for the board's help in order to either gain the consent order removed or given an extended period of time for me to file an appeal to bring this property into compliance with the county's request. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Starkey?
So I've just been briefed on this a little bit. This is in my district, but I think, while I appreciate that you want to fix up the house, I think we open the door to legal issues. Is Jessica here?
I think Sam's here.
Sam or Jessica are probably.
Well, whoever was working on this, the problem is that there was a previous buyer, and I only know this much.
So Sam, can you
Yeah.
come up?
Do you want to do this during public comment?
This is an important issue. This gentleman waited, he was going to come speak the last board meeting, but staff wanted him to wait till Wednesday. So we talked to him Wednesday, didn't get anywhere, so this is like
The
time
time is of the
sensitive.
essence. There is a demolition order currently out there. They've already
Okay, well,
signed
we'll
it to a
let- we'll
demolition company.
Let our attorney speak, why I'm not necessarily for this in this case. So.
I'm sorry.
Sam, can you get
Can you
to the
come to-
actual mic?
There was an order to demolish issued by the deputy building official on this property on May 16th, 2023. It was determined to be a slum and blighted structure. So I don't know that that's an accurate statement, that there were no structural issues with the property. They found that it met the criteria for demolition. Additionally, the sheriff's office advised us that it was a known drug house, a nuisance property, a problem property. So it's really kind of an ideal property for the HRE demolition program. The appeal deadline expired on June 21st of 2023, about a month after the order to demolish. There was a different investor who came to us on June 22nd, 2023, had not purchased the property yet, inquired about purchasing the property, wanting to rehab it. We advised him at that time, because the appeal deadline had passed, we did not think that it would be appropriate to extend the deadline. He walked away. He did not purchase the property. Mr. Jonas purchased the property on August 4th, 2023. So it was 6 weeks after the order to demolish appeal deadline had expired. And that's all public record. That's all recorded. He had not contacted our office until after he purchased the property. Under our code, once that appeal deadline passes, the order to demolish, it becomes a final order of demolition. So even if the board wanted to help this individual, I don't believe that there is a legal means to do so.
Yeah, so I appreciate you wanting to help clean up the neighborhood, and we are working very hard in Holiday to get rid of our drug houses. And in a little while, you'll hear what happened with the General Moody yesterday at our press conference. But I just think that, we're telling investors no, that we can't go back and forth with different investors, and plus, it's the law. So that's my issue.
I guess over and above that, as far as just the county policy, as a county here, I'm a resident here, we're looking to put as much tax revenue as we can on our books here. This does nothing but take that tax revenue away.
Well, there'll be a new home put on there.
Well,
Not necessarily with the situation that we have in Holiday now, with the amount of homeless and drug issues there. I can't see where an investor would go put a new house when the old one's torn down and the county's not here to help us out at all.
So I'll say, I think, our staff has done the right job, it's gone through the right process, et cetera. So I'm comfortable with what they've done every step of the way. I know you tried to reach out to me, and you did last week right before the board meeting, and I suggested you come then. Staff wanted you to wait. Frankly, I think they should have just told you then not to, when we could have had discussion 2 weeks ago. But I would like to have you talk with Sam and Alex. I know the sheriff wanted to get this down for the right reasons. As a drug house, we don't want any drug houses. But knowing this, from what I hear, it's a very easy cleanup. It doesn't even need a permit to get readdressed. He can put people that we have need affordable housing, he can put someone in affordable housing. He can save the county the money from having to go spend the money, go demolish, and then lose the tax revenue as well. It makes sense if we can find a way, let's go try to find a way. So Alex, if you would, get with Sam and see what you can, see if we can make something happen. I'm comfortable with you owning this property rather than having a demolished lot where who knows how long it's gonna take if someone ever does even wanna come and build it with these high interest rates, et cetera. I can have a structure that's in there with someone living there to make it better for the neighborhood. So I'm comfortable with it if you can make something happen.
So, Mr. Chair, just to be clear, I believe staff, the building department has already issued a notice to proceed to demolish this house. So if you want a couple days for them to have this discussion, I think the building department would have to contact the contractor and ask them to delay the demolition if that's the board's desire. I don't know if they'll get it to a resolution. I tend to agree with Sam that
They
there's
may
probably
not.
no way to do it, but even if you want this to wait a few days, the building department would have to contact the contractor and ask them to delay the demolition, at least for a short period of time.
All right, so I'd like to see a motion from a board member to delay it, work with the county administrator. 1 week, 2 weeks?
Is 2 weeks okay for a delay? I need to get to the sheriff to get his approval to where he agrees to not demolish the structure. And then if I can get the sheriff to agree, we can go from there. But I'm gonna go, right after here, I'm gonna go try to get with the sheriffs.
Okay.
Representative of the sheriff is standing right
Right
there,
there.
so you don't even need 2 weeks. He's right,
All right, so
he's right there.
would someone be inclined to make a motion to continue this for 2 weeks as far as this demolition order goes?
But to be clear, the demolition order is in place.
Yeah.
What you're delaying is
The actual
the
demolition.
actual you're asking our contractor to delay the demolition for a couple of weeks.
Yes.
So,
I'll make that move.
Have a motion? I'll second it. Any further discussion? Roll call
Well,
vote?
Yeah,
go ahead.
I just think it's unfair to the former investor. And I don't know how you treat investors differently. And so,
The former investor didn't purchase the property. The former investor is not here in front of you today asking
well,
for anything.
because he was told what the law is. Now, my staff is telling me that's the law. We follow the law, we don't make it here.
There's no prejudice, so as far as the law is considered, where it becomes the order to demolish, there's no prejudice to the county as far as extending that appeal period. There's no prejudice to the county as far as extending the period of time to demolish the house. I'm just asking for that extension period of time to do that, where it's actually a benefit to the county to extend it, because now we have a property that's on the tax rolls, that's generating a tax revenue, like 3 times more than what was being paid before, and the property's not gonna be a drug house. It'll then be a house that's used for affordable housing for folks. That's a big deal to the county, I think.
Did I misunderstand what our attorney's saying, that there's a law to undo the law? I mean, there's a,
right, well, I think Mr. Bounty's correct. There's probably no legal way to get around
Yeah.
this, but
That's what I'm
But I
hearing.
think what Mr. Bounty's, I've also heard him say, is that there's no even point discussing the legal issue unless the sheriff's office supports keeping this house up. It is a known drug house. We have not heard any plan that it's not going to be. All we heard is words. Okay, I don't know that we've seen any plan to rehab this house, to
So-
prevent it from becoming a drug house. These are all things the sheriff's office is gonna wanna know before they decide it's okay to keep this house
this
up.
has been a major
And-
problem for this neighborhood.
And all I'm
Major
asking for is that, I'm just asking for that time. I'm not the previous owner. I'm a new owner of the property. I'm asking for that time to do that. That's all I'm asking for.
And the work that needs to be done is what?
It's minimal. You're talking about painting, cleaning, there's no
No.
electrical work?
We don't condemn houses for not being painted.
I
Right.
would
Our
let
building
the county,
department.
either county can come in and take a look at it, the building department. Talked to the building official. There's no structural defects with this house at all.
Commissioner Waitman?
Thanks, Chair. Who's the responsible party for demoing the house, the county or a private contractor? The county is?
The county, but we hire a private contractor.
So will this delay, based on the schedule, increase, mobilizing on the project? Or, I mean, because this is obviously, it's probably on a contractor's schedule. They're planning to mobilize to do this project. There's going to be frustrations there as well and potential increased costs to them. So it's a full circle impact, is what I'm saying.
I mean, I think your concerns are well-founded, but I don't know the answers to them. I mean, I understand that being in the construction business as well, that very well could be. We can certainly check and bring it back.
I'm not
during the
insinuating to
session.
demo your property.
No, I'm just saying, it's a single-family residence, whether they It's a one, like, it's not like it's a huge shopping mall or something they're trying to demolish. It's a small house on a small lot.
Is it a block
I
home?
mean, it's a block home. So for them to pick up, to do another house instead of this house on a certain day, I don't think it's gonna cause
So,
any harm to the
Commissioner
contractor.
Waitman, the motion could be phrased that you delay it 2 weeks if there's no additional cost to the county or contractor. I mean, you could make that part of your motion if that's the concern. Or-
Vice Chair Oakley has a motion on the table if he wants to, would amend
What'd you say again?
The motion would be to direct the contractor to delay this demolition 2 weeks if there's no additional cost to the county or contractor.
Okay, I'll make that part of my motion.
Second is okay with that as well? Roll call vote?
District 1, Commissioner Oakley.
Aye.
District 2, Commissioner Waitman.
Aye.
District 3, Commissioner Starkey.
Nay?
District 4, Commissioner Bradford.
Looks
He
like
was
he said
on
aye.
mute, but it looks like he said aye. District 5, Chairman Mariano.
Aye.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Good luck.
2 weeks?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Oakley?
we've had 3 people speak on public comment,
Yeah.
and we've made action with each one, 2 of the 3. Public comment is not meant to do that.
I agree.
So we don't need to be doing that at all. We need to hear what they say, make note, point out someone to visit with them outside the room, and keep the meeting moving instead of being.
And I agree, and I was gonna have the first motion actually wait till committee reports, but she wanted to make the motion, so knowing I had been involved with this gentleman and
I
how
understand.
critical that was too, I know it's
Understand.
rare, I don't plan to do it again,
Takes up a
but
lot of time.
it does. But we solved 2 big issues for people.
Okay.
All right, anyone else for public comment?
Yes, sir. Dylan Rich.
Good morning. My name is Dylan Rich. I am the Florida chapter president of Save the Sacred Sites Alliance. I live at 29085 Friar Street in Brooksville. While growing up in Port Richey, I was fortunate enough to have enjoyed the Pasco coastlines. I'd always been curious about who had walked the coast before us. This curiosity has inspired my interest to the times when prehistoric natives cultivated land to the 1500s during the Spanish and French expeditions. I'd like to share with you today just a piece of history unique to our shores. These are a few engravings from the 1500s by Jacques Lemoyne, French cartographer out of the settlement of Florida. The first slides show a few important Indian chiefs of that time. Beginning with the illustration of the King Timucua tribe, King Hulada Otina, which means King of Kings and all his warriors. Next is Chief Athor, center in front of John Ribald's column. And last is Chief Satariwa giving his motivational speech before leading his warriors into battle. These are just the 3 chiefs of the many native tribes that lived here. For centuries, these tribes traveled from all over to Pasco, places like Anclote, River Park, for fresh water and trade for worship, ceremonies, or even to be buried. This shows Florida Master File under John Lunsford's study. 3rd page, it states that Anclote Mound APA 00010 was in fact used for burial. Also in the Master File, historic site specialist Daniel Penton's study in 1972 compares similarities to what is known as the Olsner Mound, found at the mouth of the Cody River, in which Clarence B. Moore's excavation documented the significance of every burial in the mound. He would record every burial, whether it was flexed or bunch burial. Also, along with items with burial like jewelry, clothing no different than our burial practices today. As found in 1958, study by Del Silverstein in the Florida Master File, neighboring Anclote River Park is API 00043, village site and mound now known as Burnt Mill or Indian Village 2. The Stantec Culture Report makes it clear that the site should be left undisturbed. According to this report, 520 historical objects were found in only a small sampling of areas. Destruction of any burial or mound is a violation of native religious beliefs. These beliefs should be respected just as rights of any descendant of colonial burial would be considered. I'd like to believe that is a priority of Pasco County Committee. My request with all this evidence is that there be further testing done at increased depths with ground penetrating radar, and that the site be registered with the National Historic Registry. Miko Thompson, the traditional chief of Hickory Ground, said, "The struggle is not just about the past, it's about the present and the future. This is the universal human struggle. We stand united in all our righteous determination to ensure that all sacred sites are respected and preserved. Decency demands it." Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dylan.
Okay, I have 3 additional individuals signed up that were signed up for the 9 AM. I'm going to call their name because they didn't speak this morning. So Hugh Townsend, followed by John Tucker, followed by Lois Mucker. I don't know if they are still here.
Mr. Townsend will be back in September to speak to the item that was here.
Okay, so Mr. Townsend is not,
Not here.
and I don't see anyone else approaching, so I believe maybe they left after the 9 AM.
Okay. Anyone else for public comment? Is there anybody on WebEx?
There is no one on WebEx.
And we'll close public comment. Now it's time for resolutions. Madam Clerk, would you please read the first resolution?
Yes, sir.
And Mike, if you come forward.
Okay, this is the time certain one where you're moving it. Okay. All
Push out it
right.
early.
Okay, so this is a resolution number 23-172, a resolution by the Board of County Commissioners of Pasco County, Florida, commending Mike Napier for his 11 years of dedicated service to Pasco County and congratulating him on his retirement. Whereas in 2012, Mike Napier began his career in Pasco County as the health officer for the Florida Department of Health. And whereas during his career in Pasco County, Mike focused on organizational performance, implementing change to positively impact Pasco County, and community collaboration by partnering with Pasco County schools to provide the first women, infants, and children services on a school campus in the county. And whereas in 2022, Mike was named Pasco County Public Servant of the Year by the West Pasco Board of Realtors, which was bestowed upon him for his exemplary service during the COVID-19 pandemic by working closely with the BOCC and Pasco County School District to provide testing and vaccines. And whereas Mike has demonstrated his leadership outside of Pasco County, having been the president of the Florida Association of County Health Officers, president of the Public Health Association, the Florida Public Health Association, and president of the Florida Association of County Health Department Business Administrators, and accepting the added responsibility of interim health officer for Osceola County in 2018 while still maintaining his duties as health officer in Pasco County. And whereas Mike holds an associate's degree in biology from the State University of New York at Cobleskill, a Bachelor of Professional Studies degree from Barry University, and a Master of Science degree in Health Sciences from the University of Central Florida. And whereas Mike started his public health career nearly 30 years ago, first in New York as a seasonal health inspector, then moving to Florida in 1986, serving in the health departments in Osceola, Orange, Hillsborough, and Seminole counties. And whereas after 35 years in public health, Mike will be retiring on August 31st, 2023 as the health officer for the Florida Department of Health in Pasco County, and will be spending his retirement doing things he loves, such as boating, fishing, and spending time with friends and family. Now therefore, be it resolved by the Board of County Commissioners of Pasco County, Florida, that said board hereby commends Mike Napier for his 11 years of dedicated service to Pasco County, congratulating him on his retirement, and wishes him all the best in his future endeavors. Done and resolved in regular session with a quorum present and voting this 22nd day of August 2023.
Thank you.
Move to approve this resolution?
Second.
Roll call vote.
Oh, yes, sir. Okay. District 1, Commissioner Oakley.
Aye.
District 2, Commissioner Waitman.
Aye.
District 3, Commissioner Starkey.
Aye.
District 4, Commissioner Bradford.
Aye.
District 5, Chairman Mariano.
Aye. Commissioner Starkey.
Well, Mike, and my friend and neighbor, we honored you here before, but we told you we were going to have you come back when we did kind of the changing of the guard. So I'm so proud that I get to be the one to sponsor this, and I'm sorry I had to miss your dinner, but we had engine trouble on our boat and got stuck down in the Keys. So we missed the celebration, but I know I'll see you around the neighborhood. What an inspirational leader you were for this county. And I don't know if you know, but we loaned him to Tallahassee like we did Kevin Guthrie. You came back, thank you very much.
Wouldn't have stayed.
But you were such a leader during COVID. I don't think any of us will ever forget or ever want to go through again what we did for that year or year and a half. So I'm just grateful that you were here during that time. And I know you have mentored a wonderful replacement for you, but very big shoes to fill, and I just want to congratulate you on such a successful career.
Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Oakley?
Mike, you've done a great job. I can remember back when COVID started, you called me one late afternoon about getting my shot, and I think it was because I was the oldest commissioner. I needed my shot early, so, and I went and got it, so, but it all worked out great. And changing your second in command to train to do the job and going through St. Leo through the setup of that and train doing that work she did, she really will hold up your, I guess, well, I don't know if she's pretty small. I don't know if she can fit in your shoes, but.
New shoes, not the same
Yeah,
shoes.
that's right. So, but she will do a good job, I'm sure, and you've done so much for us. Just so appreciative of everything you've done. So, thank you for all that.
Good.
Jack, can I say one more thing?
Commissioner Starkey?
One other thing that it's not mentioned here, and maybe when you have your remarks back to us, you can talk about the eradication. Didn't we have a big outbreak of hepatitis?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
FA.
when you speak, we have some new commissioners, speak to that too when it's your turn.
I was going to touch on that because
Oh, good.
the things you've done, I mean, just not only just COVID, but pre-COVID, when we had hepatitis outbreaks, you were like, had the billboards out there and the signs out there as far as getting shots and what was going on. And the awareness, I think, was very effective. I mean, a lot of the homeless camps
Yeah.
brought it on and affected restaurants locally, et cetera. So your awareness that you've done, always paying attention, water quality things as well, it's been amazing. You've had a great career. You've got a great service here. I like talking to you earlier about you taking that trip to London to go watch the Bills and Jaguars. I think that's the type of thing you need to go do. You know, you've worked hard all your life. You've been very successful, and now it's time to enjoy it all.
Thank you. Thank you. If I could say a few words,
Please do.
thank you for the kind words. And you know, to be a leader, you really have to have people who are willing to follow. And all the credit that's been said here really belongs to the 160 employees at the health department. Leaders only as good as those who follow, and I'm incredibly proud of Trang, and I'm glad that she'll be up here the next time you hear from a health officer. I also want to recognize Greg Crumpton. Greg, if it wasn't for those two, I would have never made it through COVID. But I also, and I'm glad you mentioned COVID, and things like monkeypox, Zika, hepatitis A, you know, COVID was the latest. There is going to be something else, and never forget the fact that the support of your county health department, a lot of things go on at the health department that no one ever knows about because we're preventing those things from happening, whether we're working with disease interventions with the hospitals, or whether it's in a daycare center with disease outbreaks there, that we prevent them from getting any worse. So you've always been very generous to the health department in your support, and I would continue that, you know, not out of sight, out of mind. We want to be out front, but some of my greatest successes have really been with the community partners. We have a great county here in Pasco County, and they're willing to partner, whether it's the sheriff's office or whether it's the tax collector, the property appraiser. Everyone's been very supportive of what we do here, and I think the Trang will continue that. And it becomes a matter of just remembering that it's only one phone call away from the next disease that's coming, and we can't, too often, if it's out of sight, out of mind, then we forget about them, and they don't need any funding any further. Not asking for any more, just making what we got. But the public health system is there to react, and really that's been a tribute to the 160 employees. We have a great team there, and I'm very, very proud of them, and I think they're going to be in great hands with Trang taking over. So thank you very much. Thank
All
you.
right, thank you.
Well, I wonder how
Could we
much
have-
staff he has.
Could we
here.
have Train and Greg come up?
Greg, yeah,
Yeah.
that's good.
Take a picture.
Any other staff here too?
Yeah, I think my PIO is here.
Okay. Yeah, let's get everybody, we'll go to picture down there.
Okay. Frame is busted. I didn't hear. We're gonna have someone from our office come out and get a different frame, but this one is. Okay. And you can hold this, but we'll take it back and fix that for you.
They will see it.
I don't know why you have two. There you go.
Okay, folks, phone first, and then we'll do the camera. Okay. And one more here.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
All right, let me go get you another.
Take care.
And RS2,
Okay. Is anyone in here for International Overdose Awareness Day in Pasco?
very good.
Okay. Do you want me to read the full thing or by title only?
Let's read the full thing.
Okay. So, resolution number 23 wait, sorry, wrong glasses, can't see. Resolution number 23-173, a resolution by the Board of County Commissioners of Pasco County, Florida, declaring August 31st, 2023 as International Overdose Awareness Day in Pasco County. Whereas the Pasco County Board of County Commissioners recognizes International Overdose Awareness Day as a time to remember without stigma those who have died from overdose and acknowledge the grief of the family and friends left behind. And whereas the theme for this year's campaign is recognizing those people who go unseen. And whereas community members resolved to play a role in reducing the number of overdoses in Pasco County, which suffered 1,510 overdoses last year alone, 289 of those which were fatal. And whereas the community is encouraged to treat substance abuse disorder as a chronic health condition and not a moral failing. And whereas we affirm that the people affected by overdose are sons and daughters, mothers and fathers, brothers and sisters, and are deserving of love, compassion, and support. And whereas we commit to remain strong in support of public education and engagement on overdose awareness and prevention. And whereas we recognize the people on the ground who are doing the critical work to help prevent more overdose fatalities. And whereas we take this day to remember those that have lost their lives to overdose, ensure their memory lives on, and inspire the community to make every day another opportunity to save a life from overdose. And whereas the Pasco County Alliance for Substance Addiction Prevention, Recovery Epicenter Foundation, the Hope Shot, and the entire recovery community encourage all Pasco County citizens to participate in lighting their homes and public buildings in purple to honor those whose lives were lost too soon, and in recognition and support of those in long-term recovery. And whereas the Pasco County Board of County Commissioners acknowledges the harm and hardship caused by overdose deaths, now, therefore, be it resolved by the Board of County Commissioners of Pasco County, Florida, that said board hereby declares August 31st, 2023 as International Overdose Awareness Day, done and resolved in regular session with a quorum present and voting this 22nd day of August 2023.
Motion.
Move approval.
Second.
Roll call vote.
All right, District 1, Commissioner Oakley.
Aye.
District 2, Commissioner Waitman.
Aye.
District 3, Commissioner Starkey.
Aye.
District 4, Commissioner Bradford.
Aye.
District 5, Chairman Mariano.
Aye. I think we've all been touched by someone, friends, family, with an overdose of some point. Even abuse just kind of ruined a lot of lives. I'm glad to see we've got more focus, more money coming in to go fight the battle. And it is a very important battle to fight every step of the way. I recently just had surgery last week, and as this was going on, I was taking actually a Percocet to deal with some pain that was just going on, just a little bit lingering. and it's the only one I've taken, and back to Tylenol. But I think it's something that everybody needs to be conscious of. Minimize taking any of these pills whatsoever if you can. It's just not good for you, and the addiction rate is, from what the U.S. Attorney General told us when we were in D.C. a few years back, it can affect anybody at any time. So, Paula, would you like to speak a little bit more about what's going on?
Well, so I just wanted to thank you, commissioners, for your support of recognizing this important day and also the lives of the people who have been lost to this terrible disorder. Like you said, it doesn't really discriminate. It impacts everyone. But I think it's also a good opportunity to shed light on hope and the individuals who day by day fight, so to speak, in the trenches to save lives of the citizens of Pasco County, primarily our first responders and also our grassroots organizations, and specifically the recovery community, like ASAP, the Hope Shot, and Recovery Epicenter Foundation. So with that, I would like to just close with, it can impact anyone, and we're grateful that you're here supporting us and making sure that our youth is more aware of the potential dangers of not just fentanyl, but other illicit substances in our community. So, thank you.
Okay. JJ, you want to add anything?
I just would add that the fire department is doing a great job in partnership with Paula and all of our community partners. There's so many people in the fight. I'd like to thank the firefighters who are here, the programs that they've started, the partnership with the committee that you're on and that you formed. There's a lot of leadership who are stepping up and making an impact. And Mike, your support across the board. This isn't a one-person fight. I mean, this is the board and the staff and the community groups. The government can't do it alone. So I would just like to thank everybody, especially my team that's out there every day, going out there and trying to make a difference.
Yeah. And Chief Perez, would you like to come forward and say a few words? And we'll bring everybody up after we do a picture down in front.
Good morning, council. I do want to acknowledge the Mobile Integrated Health Team.
It's commission.
I'm sorry, what I said?
Council's in Tampa.
I'm sorry, my apologies. Take two, let's start over. Okay.
Chief, this is your
Good
first.
morning, commissioners. Much better, my apologies. That will never happen again.
Your first time up here, isn't it, Chief?
Yes,
that you take
yes,
a-
yes, it is, Commissioner. But I do want to acknowledge our Mobile Integrated Health Team, paramedic Monroe and paramedic Traeger, excuse me. They have made such a positive impact in our community and touching so many residents and providing resources to help them overcome this addiction. So I'm truly proud of them. I'm proud of the staff back here, Chief Coleman, Chief Gwynn. When this all started back in July of 2022, they started gathering information. How was it going to work? And then it was implemented in November of 2022, and it really, really took off January 1st and continue to touch so many residents in such a positive way. And we're going to, as JJ said, collectively, we're going to lead from the front, and we're going to overcome and really end this crisis. It's just going to take a team effort, all hands on deck, and we're all for the challenge, up for the challenge. So thank you again, all the commissioners, and the support moving this forward.
Okay, thank you. So I'd like to have everyone from the fire and EMS come on up forward. Chief, you as well, JJ, we'll do a picture right up in here.
Commissioner, if I may, before we take
Sure.
the picture, we
Okay.
have a member of Recovery Foundation Epicenter, Amy Hicks, who would like to share some words about the efforts in the community.
Excellent. Come on up, Amy.
Good morning. On behalf of Recovery Epicenter Foundation, I would just like to thank everyone here today for their efforts to recognize the lives lost through overdose and the grief of those left behind. As we continue to see the effects ravage our communities like we did last week, events such as this one help raise awareness and reduce stigma so others can freely speak out about their experiences, and we can identify needed opportunities for further education and support. So I just want to thank you all for coming together today to support these initiatives.
Can I ask you what your organization is?
Recovery Epicenter Foundation, we are a community organization in support of persons with substance use disorder and their loved ones.
Okay, great.
All right. Anyone else, Paula?
Justin McFadden from the Hope Shot as well.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the Board of County Commissioners. I stand before you today to emphasize the crucial significance of recognizing International Overdose Awareness Day in Pasco County. This day serves as a powerful reminder of the global epidemic we face, one that claims countless lives, destroys families, and leaves lasting scars on our community. Recognizing this day enables us to shed light on the importance of vital resources in our community, such as educational programs, prevention initiatives, treatment options, and recovery support services. It encourages us to foster an environment of understanding, empathy, and support for those on the path to recovery, reducing stigma, and promote inclusivity. Together, let us take a firm stance against opioid epidemic, sending a powerful message of hope, resilience, and unity by recognizing this day in Pasco County. We demonstrate our commitment to saving lives, supporting our community, and creating a future free from devastating grip of addiction. Thank you on behalf of the Hope Shot, ASAP Coalition, and the Board of Directors for your time and recognizing this important day. Together we can make a difference, bringing about positive change and a brighter tomorrow for all in Pasco County. Thank you.
Thank you. And Alex, you want to say anything?
I did not have anything planned.
That's all right. I didn't want to get you flat-footed. Well, come on up, let's get in the picture. All right, so let's go forward. Maybe the board stays up here because we've got so many people down there.
These two guys go take care of both of those to try and get
Right turn and kind of look back to what
Tighter.
Okay, folks, the phone first, please, thank you. All right.
Thank you very much.
What? Oh. You can look at some of mine here.
Okay, the next order of business will be the consent agenda. We have a few items pulled. C33, C10, C36 was withdrawn, C34, and C13. A motion for the remainder of the consent agenda.
Make the motion.
Second.
Roll
Okay,
call.
District 1, Commissioner Oakley.
Aye.
District 2, Commissioner Waitman.
Aye.
District 3, Commissioner Starkey.
Aye.
District 4, Commissioner Bradford.
Aye.
District 5, Chairman Mariano.
Aye. Okay. So on the agenda items we got, I'm going to ask we do C33 last. So we'll go to C10. Elizabeth Blair.
Good morning, Commissioners. Elizabeth Blair, Pasco County Attorney's Office. This matter was pulled and revised just for some clarification and also to change one of the facts in the agreement. Clarification is on the page of the agenda memorandum where the sentence has been included that reads as follows. The digital faces will consist of 1 672 square foot face and 4 300 square foot faces. That's referring to the digital billboard conversions provided for in this amendment to the agreement. I wanted the memo to be consistent with the actual terms of Exhibit B of the agreement. And then also I wanted to fix the whereas clause on the actual First Amendment to reflect that the billboard structure to be relocated along 54 is actually moving west on 54 and not south on the Gun Highway. It's going to go to the Lowe's parcel that's currently under plans for construction there, and there is frontage on both Gun Highway and 54. The billboard structure is going to be moving from 75 feet to the east, to the west, then onto the Lowe's property. Are there any questions?
Well, yes.
Okay.
I mean,
Mr. Starkey?
yeah, I was talking to Elizabeth about this yesterday. It's my preference that they come down, but apparently this was already done. And, but how many will come down as, does,
The total number of billboard structures to be removed will be 11 under this amendment to the first agreement. In the memo, I've actually included some background facts about how a total of 23 registered billboards so far have come down that Clear Channel owned. So this program of removal and replacement of certain ones with digital is working. We are seeing some fruits of the effort here. So it's a slow process over the years, but it is working, especially with Clear Channel. They've been really great partners in this matter.
so I just want to emphasize that when we, in my opinion, when we have the opportunity, when development comes and the billboard has to come down, like it did on 54 and Little, that the contract just needs to end with the two parties, and we don't offer it to be moved somewhere else. I mean, we have that opportunity to just sunset that billboard.
Okay.
And that's a great
Point
way
well.
for us to start cleaning up the county. And Commissioner, I heard that maybe you had passed some billboards that maybe had some content on it that, you know, we don't always want to see, but we cannot regulate the content of what goes on these, right?
That is correct. I mean, there are First Amendment, restrictions on the county. So
So-
we can regulate location, we can regulate
It's unfortunate,
some things.
but sometimes
Size.
we have some content that maybe some of us don't think should be in neighborhoods, but,
Move approval.
yeah.
With the noted changes?
Thank you.
Those are the changes. Yep.
Okay, and just, Elizabeth,
Second.
I just want to make a comment as well. How many billboards have been taken down on US 19?
Oh, gosh, the total number that can be removed from US 19 or have
No,
been removed?
have been.
Have been, I don't know the answer to that. Denise Hernandez might know, but she's not available in
Okay.
the room right now.
I mean, I
I can
will.
find out for you.
Okay, maybe there's a discussion point for later on, but I don't think many have come down just because I think the ratio that we have there is,
There is a ratio between trying to spread it throughout the county, of being, billboards coming down on certain main thoroughfares. There's a particular number of conversions that are tied to each of our roads, so you don't end up with a lot of digitals along 54. When the original program was created back in 2016, I believe, that was kind of a, let's just allow X number of digital faces along a certain strip of each of the roadways to kind of prevent that, a whole bunch of them along like US 19, for example. So we did then tie the requirements for takedown between the FAP roads and the non-FAP roads to try to get some of the,
Explain to the commissioners what an FAP road is.
those are the federal,
Federal aid primary.
yeah, they're just classifications of road basically for purposes of FDOT and so forth. So the program was kind of set up in a way to make sure that all the districts saw something happen, in their districts. And also to recognize that the industry itself has numbers that they're looking for, and they have to evaluate the number of views for digital to actually say, hey, there's a certain volume of cars that go by, so it's worthy of taking down these non-used billboards in other areas that aren't as well seen, to then focus their efforts on certain areas of the county where there's a lot more traffic, because the digital billboards are so expensive.
And,
We can always revisit the program if you all, want to going forward.
well,
Mr. Starkey.
The other thing to remember is, as we are working to landscape and revitalize 19, that when you see an island that doesn't have the palm trees on it, it's because there's a billboard on the other side of the street, and we can't block the view of that billboard with the palm trees.
On certain roads, that is correct.
On FAP roads, federal aid primary roads.
So I wouldn't mind doing a little bit more, getting more information as far as what's happened on 19, bring something back to us and just show us the effects, because maybe something we want to take a relook at, because I don't know about you, but I don't see anything different with the look out there, and I think
A
there's
few.
potential.
Yeah. Well, the
right.
ones they take down are the little ones that you didn't really even notice, that weren't getting ads on them,
Okay.
True. They're allowed to pull down the inventory that's not as profitable or that is actually falling into disrepair. take those down, get rid of them as part of the conversion agreements.
Yeah.
All right,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you. And call the vote, please.
Do we have a second?
Oh, we have a second, yes.
Hmm?
Yes, you have a second. Motion and a
Okay.
second.
District 1, Commissioner Oakley.
Aye.
District 2, Commissioner Waitman.
Aye.
District 3, Commissioner Starkey.
Aye.
District 4, Commissioner Bradford.
Aye.
District 5, Chairman Mariano.
Aye. Okay, and we'll go to C13. Commissioner Waitman, I see Mr. Engel coming forward.
Good morning, Commissioners. David Engel, Office of Economic Growth.
Okay. And Commissioner Waitman?
Thank you. I don't necessarily need a presentation on this. This is just a fundamental, for me, it's a fundamental issue on what government should and should not be doing. And I just have a concern that the government is giving interest-free loans for private business, and we're operating as a bank. And I just fundamentally just disagree with that, and I see how much money it has nothing to do with the business, but I just don't believe Pasco County government needs to be working in a capital investment space. I think there's risk to the taxpayer money, and it's just a principal position I have on it. It has nothing to do with the business and the success of the business. I just think that business needs to be done in the private sector, and Pasco County government shouldn't be competing with banks and other loan entities for, risking taxpayer dollars. So that's just my comment.
Okay, Commissioner Oakley.
You got to remember that it's board policy to help small businesses, and so we do try to go out and help. A lot of businesses cannot afford to show a way they can pay it back. This particular business has done that in the past and has paid very well and do not owe any money on their property whatsoever, but these gets paid off. And this client, this citizen here in Pasco, a small business, has done a great job, and I'll leave it to David to give you some background on that, so.
Yeah, before David goes, let me just go a little further as well. The microloan program was started years ago with EDC, and I think we put money into it. We had the private sector also put money into it as well. And it helped these small businesses get loans that otherwise couldn't get, or were so expensive it didn't work. You could pretty much look at giving grant money and not getting anything back. At least we're getting money back from this coming forward, and that just helps them make the next step to make an investment to create 50 more jobs. Mr. Engel, you can talk to specifics.
Well, sure. So I just wanted to give the board some policy perspective. Our office doesn't arbitrarily dole out money or request or recommend money be provided to businesses in the county. Board of County Commissioners Resolution 15-110, which enables and establishes the guidelines for the Penny for Pasco, stipulates that we should provide aid and assistance to target industries and businesses to create jobs and create a public purpose benefit to the local economy. This Point Distillery project meets all of the criteria of the board's adopted stipulated policy for Penny for Pasco funding. The project was just in 2018, the property owner bought the project for $1.4 million, has pumped $400,000 of its own capital into equipment. They've created approximately 52 jobs, 32 now, 20 with the new line of equipment that they'll be installing, transitioning into a double shift. And if you look at the value equation here, the jobs that this business is creating are for people that needed a second chance, whether it be single parents or ex-felons that served their time. And if you look at the Pasco Reentry Program, which is a board-funded program through our Workforce Board, we pay the Workforce Board $7,000 for a job placed and trained. This is $962 because the calculation is key. The zero interest is actually the incentive. At the current prevailing borrowing rate of Pasco County, which is 4.22% as of last June, that's $50,000 in interest expense. And if you apply that to the 52 jobs, I think it's very efficient use of public funds. And might I add, redevelopment is very difficult. This is a redevelopment story in the West Market area. The property was formerly occupied by drug abusers and vagrants. The property's cleaned up. It's a vibrant business. And why did we give them the incentive? Why did we offer the incentive, making a recommendation today? It's because they have enormous startup costs to get the new line of business up and running. They have ordered, it's a specialty rum item. It'll be a big endorsement, and it'll be an announcement in September. And they have tremendous startup costs associated with it. So we're providing a helping hand, getting a lot back in return, and they do pay taxes.
Very good. Commissioner Waitman.
I appreciate the detail, and I appreciate the reasoning why and following the rules. I just fundamentally do not believe that the government taxpayer funds should be giving interest-free loans to private business endeavors. It's a risk to the taxpayer. That money can be used. I mean, what's the return on this $150,000 interest-free for 12 months? What's the return on the taxpayer? This business is making a gamble like every other business who's trying to make it and live the American dream. I just don't believe our government should be investing taxpayer money. You know, seems limited risk, but there's still risk. I appreciate the business paying it down, but we're still at a principal of $239,000, and I can think in all our districts and parks or what have you that we can use this money to the overall public benefit. I just fundamentally don't believe that Pasco County needs to be a bank or, you know, a loan, providing loans to businesses. I believe that's a private sector opportunity, and that's where it should remain. So it's just principal position I have, nothing more than that. And I just appreciate y'all entertaining my comments.
Commissioner Waitman, always good to hear your input. It is something we've looked at for a long time. It's just another tool in the toolbox, and I think it's going to help this business bring in more jobs, which is what we're trying to do. Any other comments? Commissioner Starkey?
Yeah, and I spoke to the administrator and talked to Mr. Engel this morning. And actually, I've toured that facility a couple times. I took a bunch of CEOs through there recently. You know, this is part of the Penny for Pasco program that our voters have overwhelmingly approved, and helping our small businesses grow. I think that is part of government, and providing that economic opportunity for job creation as well. And so, you know, I questioned the zero interest and wonder if we shouldn't, you know, add a little bit on. But when it was explained to me, the ROI on that, was it $50,000?
$50,000 in interest expense will be waived.
Yeah, and the jobs created, it was very low number that we are investing. I think we're getting a great return. I do have one question though, and I'm looking at the site, and you know, they've done a lot of renovations, but they haven't brought their landscaping up, and I would like to make sure that we get our landscaping grant opportunity over to this business and get it looking a little better. It is kind of austere, and certainly I think they've hit that threshold, and you know, maybe we need to be helping them.
Mr. Starkey, I'm glad you brought that up. We have presented the business in the past with opportunities to get landscaping grant funding. It was explained to my office that they are a federally regulated entity because it's a distillery, and they're not allowed to have perimeter landscaping that obscures the property visibility from the road.
All right, well then I have ideas on how we can get some plants in pots along the front or something, something. So I'll work with you on that.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
Good. And I'd like to say, when I talked with the CEO of the company, he told me what was going on, and it's good confidentiality we can't get into, but my first thing was, let me get David Engel and Bill Cronin in the room. We sat down, had a meeting, and creatively they came up with this idea to help this business come forward. So, David, I appreciate you and Bill Cronin for making a quick move to bring this forward. Was there another question?
Yes, sir. On a later date, I'd be curious, Mr. Engel, to have a spreadsheet or an idea of how much money we have loaned out with scenarios like this, how many businesses we are invested in, and what our financial return is, interest rate overall, jobs, how many of these people live in our county. You know, I question this space. It has nothing to do with the business. I wish the business fantastic success. I'm glad they chose Pasco. I just don't believe this is a role our government should be playing in. But if we are going to be playing, it sounds like the majority wants to. I'd like to understand a little bit better our risk to our investment and what we're actually seeing here.
And on that note,
Commissioner Starkey.
It's my understanding we are first on the, what's the term?
That's correct. There is no mortgage
Yeah.
on the property. We're the first lien.
Yeah, we're the first
The property is worth probably about $1.8 million against $238,000 loan balance.
There's no risk. And I'll tell you, Commissioner Waitman, I understand your concerns and your thing. Again, it's creativity as far as trying to make something happen. We've got a list of all the ones as far as we've done microloans with, et cetera, and I can get you that list. The success rate has been very strong. Not all successes, but for the majority, I want to say it was probably 85 to 90%. We've been paid, and these guys have paid us too over time
Yeah, I see it.
for what they borrowed. So, I mean, it's really no risk. It's just a matter of, do you want to stimulate the economy? Do you want to help these guys create more jobs? And here's something to do with the extra line. It's really, I think, a real good thing. Commissioner Oakley.
We've had several businesses, either through PEDC or through David's department, that we've worked out deals for incentives that bring in business, ad valorem taxes, all these things that we've given in the past to bring businesses in. We don't necessarily have to give as much now as we did in the past because people are really wanting to be in Pasco County. So we got to be thankful for that. But we, David's brokered different jobs. I know Bill Cronin's done the same. I mean, but we do that. That's part of our business, to get them here. And we've been short on businesses and definitely need these businesses coming here, so we'll have people that live here, work here, and play here in Pasco County.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Waitman, I would just say that you asking to see our records is music to my ears. We have best practices record keeping. It's always trued up. Our overall ROI to all of the expenditures going out through our office, including the PEDC, is for every dollar out, we have $62 back to the economy.
Okay. All right. Any further discussion?
Move approval.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
District 1, Commissioner Oakley.
Aye.
District 2, Commissioner Waitman.
Wish the best to this business, but fundamentally, I don't believe our government should be making loans like this, so I'm going to vote no.
District 3, Commissioner Starkey.
Aye.
District 4, Commissioner Bradford.
Aye.
District 5, Chairman Mariano.
Aye. Motion passes 4-1.
Thank you.
And I'd like to go to item number C34. This will be a quick item. I pulled it just for a quick discussion. In Resilient Pasco project that we have coming up, the shortlist and delegate, I don't want to get involved to that, but I just want to say, as we do negotiate, that a lot of other counties have already done this from years ago. They've done it in a year. A lot of times when you do a resilient plan, you can get it done in a year, and you can amend it later on if you choose to. I want to just make sure we push this as fast as we can, not the 2-year window that was initially proposed, but to shorten it up. Because of the cone of silence, I didn't make any other communications from people outside, so I'd like to just, Mr. Carbella, just comment to it, and look forward to go forward.
Yeah,
from there.
we recognize the sense of urgency. Even I will admit that we are behind when it comes to resiliency, and there's a lot of federal and state money available to that. So we recognize that, and I'll personally work with the team to make sure that we get the consultant schedule in line to where we can share that sense of urgency and get a good product that sets us up for success.
And I have full confidence that you will do that, so thank you for letting me, being okay with me pulling it to have that discussion, but I'm okay with it. If the board wants to make someone on the board wants to make a motion.
So move.
Second.
District 1, Commissioner Oakley.
Aye.
District 2, Commissioner Waitman.
Aye.
District 3, Commissioner Starkey.
Aye.
District 4, Commissioner Bradford.
Aye.
District 5, Chairman Mariano.
Aye. Okay. Okay, next item, C33. The description goes, pursue not to exceed a loan of $12 million to complete design, permitting, construction, equipment, sports fields, and other improvements at Wiregrass Ranch Sports Campus. Before they speak, I'm going to just say the reason I pulled it. Came before the Tourist Development Council. The information we had, I thought, was very limited. I do believe in the project and that we do need to do some things out there. Just the way this funding's going, for the way this project started, which we'll go through, I'm just not comfortable just saying we're going to go out and do this instantly the way it's set up right now. I think we need to look at other ways to fund it, go through it, but I'll let you guys do a presentation on it first.
Yeah, sir, before Adam and Bob speak, I'll just say that, you know, we've looked at this, and I think what you'll see here that Adam and Bob can present will kind of cover the groundwork of both the agreements as well as where the funding's coming from and some of the challenges that they've faced in order to try to meet this contractual obligation and kind of show the boundaries of that. So, Adam.
Good morning, Commissioners. Adam Thomas, Tourism Director for Pasco County. Thank you so much for hearing this today. I do want to reiterate the importance of this item to be moving forward today. We do have a contractual obligation with the family that donated the land to the sports campus. Currently, the sports campus sits in Wiregrass Ranch and is a centerpiece of Wesley Chapel and our sports tourist development. Today, we'll just go over a brief presentation of the property and the construction of the proposed bid that came in and was not awarded yet, but Triage is the contractor that we plan to move forward with. The proposed scope for the Phase 2 of the sports park project at Wiregrass Ranch is 5 fields with lighting, all 5 fields, and also the multi-purpose fields that are currently sits today. We're also going to be lighting those 2 multi-purpose fields, so you're going to have a total of 7 multi-purpose fields at the Wiregrass Ranch Sports Campus. Parking for the area, concession stands with restrooms, 3 pavilions. We have a multi-trail that was supposed to be constructed and opened at the same time we opened the indoor facility. We have the parking area for pavilions, concession trails, the road that is going to take all of the teams out to the multi-purpose fields, additional landscaping, stormwater ponds, and park expansion. So this is the overlay of the Wiregrass Ranch Sports Campus of Pasco County. The red line indicates the current road as it sits. A is the actual indoor 100,000 square feet of indoor space. B is the hotel, which is operated by Mainsail Lodging. It's the Residence Inn. I believe that's my sunglasses or my glasses on. That's C. That's the current multi-purpose fields, the event lawn space that is actually used as multi-purpose fields right now. The black road is the proposed road that takes you back to the 5 additional multi-purpose fields, along with the yellow and black line, which is the multi-purpose trail that is proposed in the bid. The defined elements of the cost of the $15 million request on the loan is the exterior improvements. That's your fill, your curbs, your fencing, your parking, your roads is around $6.5 million. Building, that's your restroom, concession stands, is a little over 1.7. Fields, they came in at a little over $4.5 million for the turf surface, the under draining, and the root zoning for sprinklers. Also electrical for the lights on each field, landscaping and irrigation, and you have a contingency budget of a little over $250,000.
Okay, and I want to say this is more information than we had presented to us ahead of time at the board, that we did get this sheet right here. That map is a lot better to look at, so thank you for that, Mike. So anyway, so I after going through this, I had a meeting with staff on Monday, talked about this. They sent me the Porter agreement from a certain amount of pages, which I just handed the board members here. Looking through it, there's a few points I want to go through and talk about as we go further with it. When you talk about the initial agreement coming through, I'm just going to read some things to you, because my big thing is not about getting the project done, but how we're going to get it done, how we're going to pay for it, how we're going to fund it, how we're going to finance it. This project first started as a $14 million project, went up to $25 million project. The debt service, I believe, is $1.2 million a year we're paying on this for interest. And the new debt proposed right now could be as high as $1.8 million. So when I look at the third page that we have in the back, under the recitals, it says, and I'm just going to read some highlighted quotes that you have highlighted on your pages. It says, provide enhanced public recreational opportunities to county residents with the goals of significantly increasing overall tourism throughout the county. Whereas the county has committed available funds in the amount not to exceed $14 million, that's how we started. and it's anticipated to include multi-purpose fields. Okay, keywords anticipated to include multi-purpose field to accommodate soccer, lacrosse, field hockey, and/or football. Go down a couple more pages, again highlighted out in the document I just shared out. The exchange property and donated property are restricted to a sports park complex and for active or passive public park and public recreational uses. Next sentence down, it talks about in its principal public use, active or passive public park and public recreation purposes. All secondary uses, including not limited to related to facilities and infrastructure for a sports complex, shall be clearly incidental and accessory to such as the primary uses. Going further, a few more pages. This would be like page 7 at the bottom. I'll read H. The county shall acting in good faith, use its best efforts to enter into agreements for the operation and maintenance of the sports park complex, deemed necessary by the county to have the sports complex designed as determined by the county for the intended use as stated herein with the 24 months of date of conveyance of the sports park property. We did that. Go down to J, it says, shall negate the owners or affiliated related entities to obligation to pay applicable parks, recreation, impact fees to the DRI, which means they're not going to be assessed any impact fees, they're just going to have to build it. Go down a couple more pages. And again, this is just highlights in there that speak to the public access. This is one of the things we did on the recitals of facts for the next agreement that was done later on. The county will be adopting, approving, implementing an increase in the tourist development tax from 2% to 4%. And when we made this statement, and Commissioner Wells at the point in time had said, you know, we need to do something for the west side of the county, and I believe it was about $5 million was supposed to be allocated toward using the tourist development funds toward the west side of the county. We haven't done that yet, but that was one of the conversations we had and where the money was going to go. Next sentence, the county will be entering an operations agreement with Rad Sports, which we did. Next page, 2 of 28. Whereas the county will obtain financing or have legal available funds in the amount of not less than $25 million for the construction, development, and operation of the sports park property and the sports park complex. Whereas this amendment and all of Flycatcher's obligations hereunder are especially subject and contingent upon the county's satisfaction of the Flycatcher written waiver to the county's adoption, approval, implementation, increase the tourist development tax. The next page over goes to page 4 of 28. Corporate events shall be permitted and other events may be permitted subject to Flycatcher's prior review and approval. We're trying to keep out outside stuff that didn't belong, but was okay to go along with it. This I need help with, and this map is actually going to help me see it now. Use of parcel I on the sports park property. It says at least one of the fields to be constructed in parcel I of the sports park property as depicted on the new site plan will be open for public use. Not less than 90% of the sports park's complex operating hours. The use of parcels A, C, F, and G parcel are depicted generally not be available for public use. In parcel H, the county acknowledges agrees that everything depicted there shall be open for public use, no fee or charge at all times during the operating hours. So that's I and H have a lot more flexibility than the others. And pretty much those documents, you know, I think should have been in our board agenda, frankly. I think it should have been in TDC's agenda. You know, I am a big fan of Wiregrass. I mean, when they opened up their first approval with JCPenney many years ago, I was very proud to be there in my tuxedo, JD, supporting what was going on out there. And when you showed me the project sitting down with your dad, I said, this is just going to be an amazing product. And what the Porters have done has been absolutely phenomenal. First class all the way, and that's what they're striving for, is first class all the way. And I think that impetus led us to use the words premier. That's what we want to be out there, is premier every step of the way. So I just want to make sure as we go through this project, how we fund it is the key to what things we need to do first should be prioritized. And I don't think we can do that with the agenda item you've just thrown before us, and just even with the comments I've just shared with you. But seeing this thing from the get-go, from the start, and how it's evolved, it's got great potential. It's a great plan, but we got to find a way to pay for it the best way possible. And knowing we've got debt service right now, I think it's 1.2 million. Bob, you can correct me if I'm wrong. This new debt service is going to go to about 1.8 million a year for interest. I think we can do this better. I think we can use other sources. We've got penny for Pasco money we put for trails. This looks like a trail to me that connects two properties around the property, which is why this was designed that way. The road infrastructure, if more needs to be done there, we can look at transportation impact fees. For the whole DRI, which is 12,000 units, I believe is approved, if that's impact fee money, which we just we have for transportation, you could even look at the impact fee portion to put into trail money if you need to. As far as parked impact fee money, and talking to Keith about this as well, there's going to be a proportion of when this is going to be sitting dead, not to be overworked and overrun, but to be looked at. We should be looking at how much money is appropriate to use for impact fee money. And just the way we have this in front of us right now, I don't think we get all the detail that we should. I would like us to work on this for the next 30 days, bring it back to us, no matter what we do today, even in the Tourist Development Council wanted to do the same thing to get a better look at this whole thing, because we didn't have this map in front of us, which, again, I greatly appreciate the detail that's done from just last night's comments, or this morning's comments, to get this done. And with that, Bob, if you want to answer the question about the debt service?
Yes, sir, thank you. In 2018, the board borrowed $15 million to build the original facility. The debt service on that is $1.5 million per year. It was a $17 million loan. We estimate a 15-year loan for the $10 million or $12 million we would need for this facility would be an additional $800,000 per year in debt service.
Okay, so different numbers, so I appreciate that, but still a significant amount of money.
Can I ask Bob a question?
Yes, David?
So, Bob, if we were to get this loan, it would be, the pledge would be tourist development tax?
Yes.
Is there anything preventing the county from using other revenue sources to repay the loan? In other words, could the county use park impact fees, or penny for Pasco, or other revenue sources to repay the loan?
Yes, we can use whatever funding is available to pay back the loan. The banks prefer a single source as the pledge. So if we're unable to pay the loan, then they would go to that one
So
source.
the pledge revenue source doesn't necessarily have to be the actual revenue source we
Correct,
use?
yeah. We could pay it back with general revenues, we could pay it back with impact fees or tourist development tax.
And if you had money in those different fees and accounts, instead of having to go borrow the money, pay the money back, or pay an interest, you could just take the money from those funds and put it forward.
Correct.
Okay, and that's what I really want us to take a look at. And I know we can't do that today. I know we're not prepared for that. I know we don't have the agenda for it. I know you haven't done the research for it. It was just something that came up at TDC, how we're going to go do this and look at these options. So let me ask you this, Bob. How much time would it take you to take a look at the funds available with the things I've mentioned and David just mentioned, where you can actually go look and maybe bring something back to us to say, we could use money from here, here, and here, the
We
different
could do
sources?
that by the next board meeting.
I'm okay to continue this 2 weeks and get all this information in front of us. Mr. Carbella?
Yeah, I want to be clear on what we're talking about here, first and foremost. I mean, there are park monies that are being put into this, right? The total cost of this facility is $15 million. Roughly a third.
1.5?
We'll call it $15 million, I'm sorry. So $15 million for this construction. Approximately 1/3 of that cost, more or less, is coming from other sources other than tourist development tax sources. So those include park impact fees. I think there's some additional older bond proceeds that are sitting there. So there is that those monies are going in. This balance here gets us the amount of money that we need to essentially finish the job. I understand too that we are using general revenue to bridge the time so we can get started, because we do have a construction bid that is currently there. The successful bidder has agreed to extend his bid while we work through the financing issues, but we don't want that bid to necessarily expire, or we would lose that contract. Now the question that's on the table here, Mike, is are we talking about using interfund loans? Are we talking about using other sources to pay back? Because in in my opinion, this facility functions as a tourism function. So from an administrator perspective, I believe that the tourist development tax should be paying for it personally. There is, like I said, a third of it is coming from other sources already, so the balance of that coming from tourism. I mean, Adam can talk more to it as far as it being a tourist facility, but I just need clarity on what it is we're talking about with other sources, Bob. I don't really understand what we're talking about.
Well, I brought the idea, so let me tell you what I'm thinking.
Yeah, thank
okay?
you.
So when I look at the yellow, if you get the map up, when I look at the yellow trail, the way it's verbed, the verbiage in the agreement that we have is those trails are connecting to parts of the DRI. It's designed to make it so those people that are in there can actually use this and get to it. It's not necessarily people going from point A to point B. They got parking for that. So that trail system right there is going to benefit the DRI. And those people in the DRI have paid impact fees. We put money in for trails for impact fees. We put money in for the penny for Pasco. Pretty much all the transportation that we have is for trails. Those two sources, I think, work very well. The road network, when we first did the Red Road, that was a big deal. And I remember we talked about using tourist development money as opposed to regular transportation money to pay for that. That was a big, big conversation. I think it's the same conversation here. You've got people that are coming from the outside, coming in here, so they're using our road network. If we own this thing and call this our road, which I think we are, I don't see where we can't use transportation impact fees, gas tax money, or other sources to go pay for that road either.
So to be clear, Mr. Chair, I don't believe these are collector or arterial roadways. Your mobility fees are designated for collector and arterial roadways.
Okay.
So now, gas tax, TIF, that's a little different conversation, but I don't think you can use mobility fees or transportation impact fees.
And
for
again,
these
I'm
roads.
just throwing everything out there on the table to go look at the things we can look at and the things we should be looking at to go, how can we best pay for this? Because if you're going to pay interest of, we're only paying 1.5 million a year in interest for the phase one. This is just phase two. We're going to add another 800 grand. That's money that's in the county coffers that could be used for other tourism things later on that we can't use because you're paying interest. So if we got other things that are applicable, and I get the key words applicable to all this here, I think we should be looking at that. Number one, financially, it makes more sense rather than borrowing money. If you have the money and other sources that can pay for it, and justifiably so, I think it's worth that conversation. And just, again, we say there's been pushed for 2 years. I've never heard we had this issue that's out there, and I respect J.D. Porter for bringing it forward, and I know he's done the right thing. He's worked with staff. He didn't want to bring it to the commission. He tried to work in-house with it, but right now, it's come to a head, and he's frustrated with it, and I don't blame him. But I think if we wait 2 weeks, let's get more information, let's go look at all the sources that could be worked, and let's find a way to get it all done. But just to go say we're going to go borrow the money, I don't think it's the right step. Commissioner Waitman.
Thanks, Chair. Well, I appreciate the fiscal conversation here. Maybe Mr. Engel's office has some interest-free loans we can use to help get this thing moving forward. Sorry. No, look, I wasn't here then, but we're, 3 years behind schedule on this? The reason this is costing so much is because we're 3 years behind schedule. I mean, no matter how you slice it and dice it, it's an expensive new world we're in. And I want to become compliant in the contract and get back aligned with this project, how we should be as a county and as an operator, and potentially what the future of this project's going to be. Quite frankly, I'm not willing to wait 2 more weeks. I'm ready to go forward with it today. I guess the county attorney question, in the interim, I mean, if we approve this today, you can use that 2 weeks, since there's an extension with the contractor, to look at how we're going to pay that contractor, right? But in order to move forward, we need to approve this item today, and then we could figure out the funding sources to pay
Yeah,
the
I think
contractor.
the item before you is a request to pursue a loan.
But it's not pigeonholing us as to how and where that loan money comes from.
Correct, that was why I asked.
Which I
Mr.
think
Garber
addresses the
question.
chairman's concern of how we fund this.
So if I could offer something to the conversation, I was just talking with Mr. Gorig about it. You know, like any loan, there's nothing that would preclude us from early payment, repayment. What we're seeking is authorization to go forward to the private market and get a loan to do what we need to do. If we were to establish other sources or find other sources, you know, if the board wants us to direct and report back on that, we can. So if we find, say, $1 million hiding under the couch cushions that would qualify for the trails, as Commissioner Mariano points out, we simply can either deduct that from the loan cost and make those payments. But we need the authorization to go forward to get the money so we can actually start the project. And we can, I see no reason why we can't handle that in parallel and bring that back to the board for approval. But I'm offering that as a suggestion just from
I'll
what
make a
I'm seeing here.
motion to get
Commissioner Wade,
moving.
before you go, can I just ask you something?
Sure.
So you're basing your information that we're in default based upon what?
The contract.
So the contract I just handed you, or do you have one before?
It's actually right here in
Yeah.
paragraph 11 of the agreement.
This, I don't know how, I'm fully briefed and aware of everything that's going on with this project. I've had multiple briefings, renderings, staff meetings, briefings, and I'm new to the board. So I don't know where the disconnect is. Maybe staff isn't talking to all 5 of us, but I'm pretty well briefed of where we currently are in this project and where we should be. And talking with Goldstein and County, I mean, we talk pretty regularly, Chairman.
Mr. Chair, I don't think you read paragraph 11 of the First Amendment.
So on that agreement that you have right there, I was handed that at 9:55, maybe 9:58. Part of the reason I got here a couple minutes behind, just kind of scan that as quick as I can. So read to where we're in default.
Okay. All multi-purpose paths and sidewalks and all multi-purpose fields depicted on Exhibit A shall be constructed and completed during the first phase of the construction of the sports park complex, including the indoor sports facility, and we shall cause the construction to be complete prior to the first CO of the indoor sports facility.
Okay. So why, when we borrowed $25 million, did we not know we weren't complying with everything else that had to be done in the project? I mean, we approved it, we sent it, we signed it, we financed it. And you're telling me we went through and financed the whole project at $25 million, and we didn't do everything we're supposed to do? And nobody was aware of it?
So the obligation was there, my understanding, and I can't, staff will have to answer this, but my understanding is the indoor sports complex, when it went actually out to bid after we got the loan, came in over budget,
Okay.
significantly over budget. So as a result, they had to cut something out of the budget, and what was cut out of the budget was the fields.
Okay. So no other plan was made to bring it back forward to come to us, and we're just hearing this?
So-
I'm hearing it 2 weeks
So
before
I
that
would-
we're in.
But Parks did not ignore the issue. Parks did budget about 4 or 5 million for the fields. The issue was that when they went out to bid for those fields, it came in much higher than what they had budgeted.
It wasn't just the fields, it was all the trails too.
That's correct.
So in the roadway.
Commissioner?
Commissioner Starkey.
Oh, the saga of what to do with the tourism money. Man, this thing's bounced around the county for decades. Before this went over there, it was over here. But I'm in full support of this project. I think we have an obligation to finish it. I do want to hear again later during Commissioner items, remind me what Commissioner Wells said about and I recall that, some money being spent over here. It pains me that it's such a big hit on our tourism folks, but I think we need to finish our obligation. And to me, this is all the painful detritus of not funding parks like we should have for the last 30 years, 40 years. So I'm going to say again, we need a parks MSTU, not a big number, but a number that gets more bondable capital money into parks so that we can finish building what we should have built 20, 30 years ago. So, and maybe help pay this back and get some of the other projects that we all know we need so badly going. So I am like Commissioner Waitman, I am in support of moving forward today, but I do want to revisit it and go over some of the things you said later.
Commissioner Oakley.
Yeah, I'm for moving forward with this project. We've been waiting too long, this 2.5 years past due of having these fields built. And we've had tremendous growth in this past 2.5 years that caused more and more use of these facilities. If we'd have done it back when came out with over budget for what we were planning on doing, instead of waiting, this part would probably cost $5 million, and instead we got all the inflation, the high costs and everything that's causing the issue that we have. We don't need to wait any longer. We need to go forward and make sure that we do the right thing with this field and for Wiregrass, the sports park. It's going to continue to do well. It's going to do even better. I appreciate Rec coming in and taking over management, and if they, to this point, they've done a very good job in doing that, and their goal is to make that more and more tourism and bringing more people into this area, but we need to get this done. So with that, I'll make the motion, we go forward. So,
I want to add one more thing, and I'll second it, Commissioner
Okay.
Mariano.
Commissioner Starkey.
You know, Mr. Collier made such a big investment there in that hotel. And he made that investment based on a full park, not a partial complex. And so if we want to have these partnerships with these respected businessmen in our community, we need to come through with our obligations.
Commissioner Waitman, anything further? All right, so I would say that, again, I am thrilled with what the Wiregrass product has done, what they've done. The Porter family's been phenomenal. I don't think their demands are an issue whatsoever. I do know that when we did finances before, we went from 14 to 25. And even with 25, that wasn't enough. After this, there's still going to be more, I believe, we're going to need to do. I think we should get, even if you go forward with looking at the loan, I think we should add it into the motion. I would appreciate it if we would take a look at the other funding sources that are available that we can look at, anything that's applicable, that's appropriate, and go look at it financially. Because right now, does anybody here know what the tourism assets are, revenues coming in? And does anybody considered, what if we have another COVID, or if the economy shuts down for some other reason, and all of a sudden these tourist development revenues drop, and you have nothing more, not enough money to go pay the debt off? So because of all those things to think about, if you're going to make a motion to approve it, which you have, I would like you to add into, let's go look at the other sources and bring it back to the board in 2 weeks.
Mr. Thomas is wanting to say something.
So I just wanted to put a word of caution. If you start using other pots of money, this is a tourism facility. We planned and envisioned this facility, along with the multi-purpose fields, indoor space, to actually have this as the centerpiece of our sports tourism efforts. If we start using other sources of money, well, you start to really cap the usage of tourist development on this particular property, because you're going to have organizations, you're going to have teams wanting to use the property because it's built with other sources, not with tourist development tax. So I just wanted to.
But that trail could be built with other.
Yes, ma'am. I'm talking about the multi-purpose fields.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
No, and I want to keep a balance to it too. I mean, and I fought from day one. You heard me as you first got here. I wanted to make sure that the focus of this whole event, this whole facility, was going to be a tourist development. The excess time that would work, that wouldn't hurt the facility, that it should be open. And it's even in here in the contract. I mentioned 5 or 6 different points where it talks about public use. So it's not just solely that.
I call
But again,
question.
I'm going to just, well,
Yeah, otherwise Mr. Cronin's going to be here all day,
okay.
not out there working deals for us.
All right, call a motion.
District 1, Commissioner Oakley.
Aye.
District 2, Commissioner Waitman.
Aye.
District 3, Commissioner Starkey.
Aye.
District 4, Commissioner Bradford.
Aye.
District 5, Chairman Mariano.
Nay. Hope we don't make another $3 million mistake. Thank you.
Here.
What page was that?
Commissioner Waitman.
I'd like to add before, lighten the mood a little bit, just congratulate Wiregrass Ranch on the opening of, since they're here on Wiregrass Ranch Boulevard. I think that's something that we can all smile about, and good work there. Good-looking road, been traveling it up and down, and congratulations and thank you, guys.
Yeah, JD, great job out there. It's phenomenal, everything you've done out there, and I completely support you. Just, it's all financing.
Parks, MSTU. Jack, what page was that public park on, public use on? Do you remember?
I'll give you the highlighted stuff I got. This-
Can you hand-
I'll show it to you.
Okay.
Give me a second.
There's nothing highlighted on there.
Sure, I'll highlight it for you online.
Okay. Bill Cronin? Didn't even know you were there. I didn't see you in the back.
Good morning,
Sorry about that.
everybody. Happy Tuesday. Before we get started, I just want to confirm that you have our presentation in your packet in case we go through it rapidly, and you can look through it at your convenience. If not, I've got extras here as well.
Where do we have it?
Sent to us, email.
Would you like me to bring it to the clerk just in case?
Yeah, I'll take it.
Move to receive.
Second.
Roll call?
Sorry. District 1, Commissioner Oakley.
Aye.
District 2, Commissioner Waitman.
Aye.
District 3, Commissioner Starkey.
Aye.
District 4, Commissioner Bradford.
Aye.
District 5, Chairman Mariano.
Aye.
Okay, well, thank you, everyone. And everybody loves a good ribbon cutting. We'll start out with a slide with the ribbon cutting. But I did want to make comment on our microloan program, since it got a lot of great advertisements this morning. That microloan program, a couple things just to kind of prime the pump, and I know Commissioner Waitman's got interest in this. The microloan program that we have currently has about $4 million out on the street right now, creating jobs and creating small businesses. Those microloans require that the bank actually turn them down. So they are high-risk loans. They're very high-risk loans because they have to be unbankable. With that in mind, we actually work with the companies to make them bankable as part of that loan process. But the general terms of the loans are usually about 2 to 3% over prime. And because they're high risk and because no one else will actually lend to them, they become very, very loyal for us. And both the Penny for Pasco and the private sector, the banking community through their CRA funds generally provide that funding in there. The item that you had earlier on consent, I believe that also was an extension of a previous agreement made by a previous commission. So I think that was the light that we looked at this when we met with the company, that this was a loan that had been satisfied, that was given by the previous commission, and it was extended for the purpose of that additional business. So hopefully that provides some clarity. You might ask some additional questions later, I suspect, too.
Interest-free is bothersome.
Interest-free is bothersome, I agree. And we don't do it with microloans that are out there. And I think, again, because this particular one was a previous loan made by a previous administration, I think that's the angle that most of us looked at that.
The first loan had a 3.5% interest rate. The second loan has no interest.
I'm not aware of that.
That's right in the agenda back of 3 years, no interest. The first loan had 3.5% interest rate, and they paid down. Sorry, Chairman, I apologize.
Yeah, that's over now.
Chairman, yeah, it's over now.
No.
It's over now.
No worries.
You should worry about the 12 million we just went through.
Touche.
But the point is that we've got about $4 million on the street that it's actively working right now, and a very low rate of default, believe it or not. We'll get into the MOU part first, and then when we get to the penny, maybe there'll be some more room for discussion. So, report card. I think this is probably the thing that most people are most interested in, and when I presented last, we were in the middle of a lull. We've seen a lot of things come through in the last 3 months. This is for Q3, of course, but 10 wins, and of that 10, 7 of the 10 are actually expansions. These are existing companies looking to expand. That type of announcement is the best advertisement for us when we go out to try to recruit other companies, because how we take care of our existing business and showing that existing business is growing is the best ad we can actually have.
Like a Point Distillery?
Like a Point Distillery. And if you look at the 7 projects in the final, somebody else is getting advertising today too, evidently, but they're all our businesses. If you look at the ones that are in the final phases coming up, we've got another 7 that are on their way. And we've forewarned county staff that these are coming. Don't know how many of those are going to be able to come in before the end of the fiscal year, but included in that, about 70% are also expansion. So this is a really good sign of the health of our companies that we already have here. And here's a breakdown of the types of companies that are coming here. And you see the pipeline is still really robust, over 100 projects. Normally, we're about 35 projects, so we're busy. And of that, a lot of them are in advanced manufacturing and, of course, life sciences. Training programs, in the first item there, you see 1 year to date. I'll just remind everyone that CareerSource, for most of the year, did not have they weren't accepting applications for that program. So that program, they started again this last quarter. So we started going out and promoting that again. But as far as company visits and getting out there, 58 year to date on a goal of 80. We're trending really well. 3/4 of the year, we're about 3/4 through our goal. And then the workforce connections. This is a good barometer when you look at when the economy may be possibly going into a downturn. You start to see a lot more focus on talent and workforce, and I think that's where we're at right now. Conferences, events, some of this is the fun stuff. The ones that are in bold in the middle, the events are the events that the Pasco EDC actually host and organize and put on. But in here is international conferences, some of the trade shows that we exhibit, some that we exhibit jointly with companies like Moffitt. Very busy year this year, and again, part of that I think is with COVID ending, you've got a lot more people traveling and a lot of pent-up demand. Earned media value. You know, for the longest time I couldn't get my head around this, but every time that somebody tells our story that we're not telling our story, that's earned media value. So as your marketing agency for business, this is a really good stat, and we'll try to highlight those more often so that you can actually see what other industry publications and even newspapers and media outside of the state are picking up. And that's our unique webpage visits for Q3. And audience is still continuing to grow, 82,000 impressions, this again for Q3. Up to 82 investors. We're at 577,000 of our private sector goal. Our private sector goal was around 500,000 last year, so we've already beat that number. We're up around 700,000. We're again trending well with where we're at in the year. Some new board members, or new investors. Southern Group, you might recognize a former commissioner has joined, Mr. Mike Moore. Community Foundation of Tampa Bay and Florida Design Consultants, all new investors. Community Foundation also is really important because it's the economic development community that provide them with the details of where the need is for growth. So when they give out grants, they base it on what the economic development community is telling them what the needs are in communities. So having them close by to Pasco, very, very important for us. And then one of the events I just want to mention used to be called Meet the Developer. Y'all were participants as well in this event. Sold out, 125 in attendance. We were originally at the Residence Inn. We had to move venues. And of that, in the presentation, 64 of the presentations that were presented were downloaded through a QR code. And these are a lot of graphs and stats and stuff, not the stuff that people normally would reach out and want to download to read in their spare time. So that means they're really intentional about understanding what type of products that we have. Awards banquet coming up in September 7th, just around the corner. And we're going to be awarding our companies again, and a leadership award, great time by all, and then groundbreaking for Pasco Town Center. Pasco Town Center, of course, at the intersection of 52 and 75 is scheduled for October 5th. That's probably one of the best pieces of property that we have in the county, as one of our gateways to the county.
What district is that in?
So you want me to answer, or shall he?
100,000 jobs.
Yeah. So that was it on the MOU portion of our deliverables for the county, and I'll go ahead and switch over to the penny. Maybe? There we go. It's amazing that my clicker is doing all that activity from here, isn't it? It's like a magic wand. There we go. So we'll start out with an action shot, and you might recall on my last report, We had just came back from an international trade mission. I touched on it a little bit, but here you have our chair, Commissioner Mariano, and Commissioner Starkey, with mayors from Tampa, St. Petersburg, and Clearwater. So we had 3 mayors, we had 4 commissioners. It was a very, very well-attended trip for the 3 counties and several appointments for new business coming in as well.
Where is this, Mr. Cronin?
That was in London.
London.
I'm sorry. That was in London, and that particular picture was with the British American Business Chamber of Commerce.
Talk about July 4th?
No.
We did. We did.
No, we didn't. We'll save that for the
Yes,
next
we
trip,
did.
when we bring you.
No, that was actually, Commissioner Wakeman, that was kind of funny, those stuff.
It was.
We had those conversations, we did.
Yes. Yeah. Diplomacy, right? So when we talk about the penny, usually I go through, and rather than each of the items on the scorecard, I want to bring to you the highlights, because there's a lot of stuff. Because our penny for Pasco agreement has lots of minutia for us to check, but it's in your packet, and you've got it there. Ready Sites, probably one of the largest programs and probably the biggest culture-changing program of the penny programs that we had, and that is to change the idea and the culture of land ownership, getting people who own land to prepare it for industry. And we helped them do that. It's been about 5 years to get those up and going, but now we have over 6 ready sites. And this last quarter, we've had 2 foreign direct investment prospects coming to look, as well as several other target industries that we're looking at those ready sites. And that's important because they know that the boxes have been checked already, that they're ready to go. International, I mentioned the UK mission that was with the Global Tampa Bay group, the 3-county consortium. We also had a side trip to Germany that was just pure foreign direct investment. Had another 11 meetings in Germany with 11 prospects. So between the 2, just on that 2 weeks, we ended up with 12 prospects from the UK and 11 prospects from Germany. So very fruitful. We're continuing to work on trade missions for our local companies. We've got a group leaving for Dominican Republic in about 2 weeks, right after the awards. And then another delegation heading to Seuss, Japan, and we'll be co-exhibiting with Moffitt at the Bio Show in Yokohama, Japan. So we're doing a lot of things already to spur the life science growth in the community, and then working with our partners. And honestly, we're the hired help, so it's great when Moffitt and people like that come and talk about our community, because they expect it to come from us, but when they hear it from our companies, it's that much more important. Workforce Connect, we had our very first Biz Blast event. We did it on Gun Highway at Baymar, and county came and also brought some of their resources as it relates to redevelopment, facade grants, tree grants, landscaping grants, those types of things. Very well attended. We had over 30 employers that participated, and we're going to start doing that around the county in different places where we've got a consolidation of industrial growth. Executive Success Program, graduated a recent cohort. One of the cohorts, one of the members actually took the skills he learned and is one of the expansions that we talked about. So RP&G is one of the companies. It's a printing company, and they expanded based on the knowledge that they learned from ESP. So it's working really well. And then Smart Start. Our incubator program continues to grow. We've got our 3rd location on the west side that will be co-located with AM Skills, and we've already got classes that are being held on the west side. So we're anticipating, and I mentioned before, with a potential downturn in the economy in the future, we're going to see a lot more emphasis on startups. We're going to see a lot more emphasis on workforce. And luckily, over the last 3 or 4 years, we've really put a lot of investment into those programs. And without jinxing myself, I'd like to say we're ready. And with that, I'll let you ask any questions, or you can review the rest at your leisure, because it is a lot of boxes that were checked.
Great stuff, Bill, as always. I mean, since you've come on board with Pasco County, you've done just a phenomenal, PEDC, you've done a phenomenal job helping us get out there, helping us create that awareness, and the research has just created so much investment in this county, and we appreciate you.
Thank you. I have a question.
Commissioner Starkey.
With the economies that are out there in the country right now, has anything slowed down here, or are we still humming along at the same
Yeah.
pace?
No, it's funny because when we say slow down, sometimes the after effect still lags because somebody might say, I'm not going to build anymore, but there are some things that they're still building. So it's when they make that decision-making that the decision-making is slowing down. Yes, we are seeing a couple sectors, and of course, one of the big ones is distribution.
Slow down?
Yeah, slowing down in terms of the big distribution centers, and market is fairly well saturated. If everything that has been committed is built, especially around that 52 corridor, we could have close to 7 or 8 million square feet of distribution. And for us, that's probably too much at that point. I think at that point, we'll come back and probably remove that off our target industry list because those jobs aren't as high-paying jobs and may actually bring down our county average. Other areas that are slowing, I think I sent an article just recently about multifamily, and you are starting to see a little bit of chatter about that, especially as it relates to the banking community. Deja vu all over again. It feels like some of the same things they talked about were the things that we talked about in 07 and 08. So I would say we're cautious as we're moving forward, maybe a little bit of the slowness. It doesn't feel slow to most of our residents here because all they see is growth. And the growth that we're seeing right now is largely a lot of the residential growth that goes in the back of an MPUD, a lot of the commercial growth, but not as much of the employment center. We need that employment center because the best thing that we can do for that growth and that congestion is to create jobs here locally. And I think a lot of the congestion that we're seeing are people that are still getting in their car every day and going to Hillsborough and Pinellas. So once we get more jobs here, take care of our people, we'll start to see some of that congestion and traffic go down a little.
One more thing. Do you think it's too early to talk about our little State Road 54 project, or?
Yeah.
Okay, next time.
Yeah, but well, I can allude to the fact that we've got a lot of areas of the county that have had heavy industry in some parts that historically were okay, and now they're in areas that are really high traffic areas and very nice looking areas. We do have places in the northern part of the county that are actually working to attract more of the heavy industry. So those are things that as we see growth in the county, you see a lot of that land moving, dirt, cement, all of that is needed more in the north than it is in the south. So hopefully we get those trucks off the road in the southern part of the county and get the northern part built up. Kind of surprising we're talking so much about the northern part of the county. 5 years ago, that wasn't an issue.
Commissioner Waitman.
Thank you. Just to kind of reiterate what I talk about every afternoon, it's fantastic to see these sites. And, Hayes Road is coming to life. We have, part of Eagle Industrial Park coming around the corner, soft winds. It's coming. I just want to be sure, this is for the county attorney and Mr. Engel, the Davids, and Mr. Engel touched on this at your industrial luncheon. I appreciate Mr. Engel talking about it. But to protect these sites, these truly job-creating sites from Live Local. I don't know how we do it. I'm not sure if we're vulnerable, but if we are, I just urge tremendous caution that we hold what these sites are for and not erode 1 square foot away from what these intended uses are because of that bill. So that's just
I
my
will tell you
comment.
that Mr. Cronin asked me this question. I sent him an example of a deed restriction that we use for rezonings that restricts these sites to industrial only. I think he called it brilliance or something to that effect. So,
You're not sure, though.
I don't know.
Super brilliant.
But I think he was inclined to do something similar for these sites. Was that right, Bill?
Yeah, and yes, I did use the word brilliant. And I have to say it was brilliant, very proactive on the county attorney's part. And I know that Commissioner Waitman also had a hand in that because, Yeah, sometimes we want to preserve these sites, and some of these programs existed long before the Live Local agreement. The current agreements that we have actually have similar language in there about the voluntary deed restriction, but not for the specific purpose that we talked about. They are under a or a voluntary restriction right now to use it only for industry. But each of those ready sites are under agreements. I believe they're 5-year agreements. So they'll get a chance to revisit those at the end of the 5 years. Our goal is to get somebody in and located on those sites within that 5 years. So, but each of the sites, that is really the intention, is to preserve those for industrial development as we start to see that growth around, and then also to show less risk to invest in those sites because we've identified where everything is. But yes.
Yeah, the advantage of those sites is since they have agreements with the property owners, they can say as a condition to you being part of ready sites, you've got to commit to it being industrial. The more difficult sites we have are the ones where they're not ready sites.
Right.
They're just zoned industrial. They happened before Live Local, so we didn't require they be deed restricted. Those are the ones that are most at risk.
Yeah.
And the commercial sites that fall in that same.
How many do we have now, since you're the keeper of the numbers?
At least 6 projects.
I think right at 6. I think you guys were able to kind of stop some of that activity.
There may be we'll see, but there's at least 6 that have come forward to the county.
One thing to mention, we're no longer a low-cost environment.
Yeah.
We are a low-tax environment, which means that our industrial land isn't quite as cheap as a lot of other people. So for them to get this to pencil out is sometimes more difficult for those developers, but you know they're going to try. And I appreciate that everybody's working together to protect that, because we heard from Mr. Engel last year about the cost of losing these industrial sites, the opportunity cost, and it is well over $2 million an acre that we lose in opportunity cost for job creation. And besides the fact that, do we really want our residents living in an industrial area? I mean, it comes down to how we take care of our people, and I think that's really important too.
Well, Bill, I'm glad you're in the forefront, and I appreciate the article you sent over. It was last night, I think I got it, about the apartments, and just like how these companies, national companies, are just kind of buying up projects, rehabbing. They were gonna, if their revenues drop down, they get stuck, they get in trouble, and now they gotta go refinance, and now they can't make the refinance, now the bank's gonna decide whether to take it back or not. So I think it's classic to say that good residential housing is a lot better than the apartments, because the quality of life you can lead, better for your citizens, and now with these national companies, if they go under, who knows what happens with it next.
Yeah, that's
we've talked about.
exactly right. So as long as we're all watching it, I think we'll be okay.
Well, greatly appreciate it.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
All right, and we'll adjourn for lunch.
Pasco County waterways and wildlife depend on you to keep them healthy. Excess fertilizer, grass clippings, trash, oils, and pet waste wash into gutters and storm drains when it rains. Stormwater carries these pollutants directly into our lakes and rivers, creating an unhealthy environment for fish, waterfowl, and other aquatic animals. Storm drains are meant for clean rainwater. Most other discharges are illegal. If you suspect an illicit discharge, please contact Pasco County Department of Public Works at 727